Borussia Dortmund 2012-2013 under Jurgen Klopp, and that recreation is going to be next. And welcome back, everybody, to the Cult of Football Manager. Yes, it's going to be Borussia Dortmund that we're going to do. There were a lot of suggestions in the last video that we did on the Barcelona series, and thank you to everybody that suggested teams to be and teams to do recreations for. Now, I had them all put down on a list, and I'm going to basically try and go through them one by one, and just as long as I think it's doable and we can get something sort of close, I'm going to try and do all of them in FM22. So I'm going to start with Borussia Dortmund. Somebody actually suggested this. Now, I'm not entirely sure I would have done this without somebody's suggestion in the first place. Now, somebody suggested it, so I went away and looked at them play a couple of games, like, in a full match, and some highlights and stuff, and tried to, like, tweak, some roles and responsibilities, roles and duties in the game for what I thought that might look like. I was pretty comfortable. We had a good starting place. So I just thought, I looked at Dortmund's squad and I just thought, that's actually a really good one to try and do. There were some really good other suggestions as well. I think some of Mourinho's teams, there was United in 2008 as well. So yeah, don't think that just because I didn't do your suggestion this time, it's not going to happen. Some great suggestions. I just thought this one was a good one to do next, especially as Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp right now are both going head to head for the Premier League, Champions League, maybe FA Cup as well. I thought it was a good time to do the other manager. So I just want to take you back a few years and sort of set the scene for how this save is going to come about and how this sort of scenario came about for Borussia Dortmund. So in 2008, Borussia Dortmund appointed a new manager called Jurgen Klopp. They were a fairly decent side when I was quite young, and they had some financial issues, which is why that team fell apart. And they ended up becoming a little bit obscure in the Bundesliga for a few years. They went an awful lot of years without being, anywhere near league titles and that kind of stuff. But what changed for them in 2008 is they appointed a manager called Jurgen Klopp, and they started to put together a team full of good young players, relatively cheap as well, especially with net spend, which is always the one important thing to look at, is always net spend, not total spend, because you can spend 200 million, but if you've sold 400 million pounds worth of players, it's not quite the same, is it? So they'd done a very good job of putting together this good young squad, and they had like 3 years of just brilliance. They managed to beat Bayern Munich to the title twice in a row, and then they got to the Champions League final against Bayern Munich, but then sadly lost. So we're going to focus primarily on the 2012-13 team that got to the Champions League final, because ultimately that will be the end goal, is to end up like that team, but we're going to win it. That's going to be the aim. And so I always think it's important to try and specify a specific season if you can, because when you do recreation, even if you take like this team, we'll take a few players different here and there, or maybe like a slightly different approach to games here and there between seasons, and you can get a bit muddled up. So we're going to focus primarily on that season. Now, that season actually finished second in the league, but it just came after back-to-back league titles, and then got to the Champions League final, obviously. So to set the scene a little bit then, so in 2009-2010 season, that was sort of Bayern Munich's last season at the top, and they managed to win the Bundesliga again like they normally did, and they got to the Champions League final and fell just short to Mourinho's Inter, which most of, I guess, people watching this remember that game. Now, after that, after Van Gaal's reign was starting to come to an end and a bit of turmoil through at Bayern, but during that time, Borussia Dortmund, who were seen as always the smaller club, and with less of an international fan base, less money, were starting to put together a really good young team, and Jurgen Klopp was already a thorn in their side a little bit about, winning the odd little trophy here and there, getting close. But now this team was absolutely ready to go. And he had a good team of young German players mostly, but not always German. Not always through the youth system either, plucked from other clubs, etc. But they had a good young core of a squad that was just ready. It was built in its image of its manager and the DNA of the club at the time. And they were just on fire. So you had Bayern Munich going through like a weird spell of like being at the top and then starting to drop, and then they were coming up like a rocket. And, Munich were panicking because they had everything their way for so long. Yes, they didn't win the league title every year, but they were never really in danger of like being long-term dislodged by somebody. And this team was the first team that people thought, maybe. And it didn't turn out that way, obviously. After the 3 seasons, 2 back-to-back league titles in the Champions League final. During this season that we're going to focus on, the 2012-2013 season, Robert Lewandowski, who was at Borussia Dortmund, his contract was coming to an end, and it was known that he was speaking to other clubs during this final season. They got to the final, and they didn't know who specifically, or they had an idea that he might be speaking to Bayern and he might be signing for Bayern, but he said publicly that he wouldn't announce at the end of the season, which he didn't. But everybody sort of knew, and he got to the end of the season, and after they lost the Champions League final, Robert Lewandowski went to Bayern Munich on a free transfer of all things, you know, to not only lose your best player, your best striker, to lose him to your biggest rivals who don't really need him. Of course, he'll improve them, but they don't need him. They could win the league title without him. It was just a killer blow, and it started off like a little chain reaction of you know, occasions of Bayern Munich. Every time there was a bit of a threat from a Dortmund player, they just bought them off them, and it became a bit of a running joke, I guess. So it's sad how Dortmund then fell away after that. But we're going to try and you know, make sure that doesn't happen this time round. It's a different club, different financial situation. Hopefully that sets the scene well for you in terms of how their save looks. For those of you that just don't remember too much about the story at the time, and we'll just go through the team in the Champions League final that they had, which I have right here. So Weidenfeller was the keeper for the Champions League final they lost in 2013. The back four was Schmalzer, Hummel, Subotic, Piszczek, with a midfield of Grosskreutz, Gundogan, Bender, and Blaszczykowski, and then Royce and Lewandowski as the 10-in striker sort of thing. So 4-2-3-1, defends like a 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1, but that's what we're going to be going for. Very high pressing, very intense counter pressing, quite high lines of engagement as well. I was quite surprised how far Gundogan as a pivot would go and press, which is actually, that actually works for Manager. That's something that we can recreate pretty well, so that's good. But yeah, generally just a world-class team that they had, which I don't think we quite knew at that time. You think of all the trophies that just Lewandowski and Gundogan have won on their own, the clubs that they went to. That's going to be the team we're going to try and recreate. I mean, maybe a slightly better version of Grosskreutz, maybe, and Blaszczykowski. But generally, that's the profile of player we're going to be looking at, but we're going to get better players than that. So this is our Weidenfeller. Now, I'm not impressed with this, if I'm honest. Like, he's going to be gone, just to let you know. He will definitely be sold by Berkey. And the reason he's going to be sold is that positioning at 8, I have a long-term theory for Manager that a goalkeeper needs 2 things, always, minimum. One is handling, the other is positioning. In my most recent analysis, handling probably isn't as important, but positioning definitely is. And I'm not having that, so I'd rather sell him and get somebody else in. Maybe Livakovic comes in again. I don't think I've had a save in Manager this year. I've not bought Livakovic, so I'll try to be more creative, but we'll see. This is our Piszczek. I mean, no is the answer to that. Agility of 11, don't think so. Meunier, you're going to be struggling to be in this team. He's going to be gone as well. It isn't going to be 11 brand new players into the team, but he's going to be one of the players that will definitely leave because we need somebody a bit more dynamic, somebody who is a bit more agile. It's not pace, it's more of the agility and the acceleration that I'm looking at. Pace is fine. Pace 15 is okay. I'm not bothered about that. Oh, Schmalzer is still here. Marcel Schmalzer is still at the club from those glory days in 2013. Yeah, good lad. He's still knocking around. He won't be the left back, I'm sad to say. He will not be our left back. He'll be maybe in the squad as a statue figure, like a reminder of the glory days sort of thing. He's going to be the statue, is Schmalzer. He will not play very often. Now, people love this guy, Dan Axel Zagadou. I'm not convinced. 8 agility, straight away is a no-go. 10 acceleration, not sure about that. I mean, Mats Hummels is a good comparison, left with Mats Hummels, but Mats is at the club. Here's the big legend, Mats Hummels. Now, he is not going to be playing either. I mean, look at the pace and acceleration. There's absolutely zero chance. Like, although it's the same name, it's not the same player, is it? You know, a bit like when they say in zombie films that it's you know, the zombie isn't your friend, mother, father, husband, wife, whatever it is. Yeah, he is just the zombie of himself. He's just not the same player anymore. And wow, on those kind of wages, he's pretty much stealing from us, isn't he, at this point? What's going on here? Like 165 grand a week. I mean, he looks great mentally and technically, but this, not having it. Not having it, Matt. Sorry, mate. You're going to enjoy the sunshine somewhere else. I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know who's going to pay him that money. Cayman Islands? Don't know. G is going to be one of our centre-backs for definite. He's decently quick for a centre-back. He can tackle. Although he's a quick centre-back, he's not terrible defensively. That's very important. He's not just pace. He actually can defend and he can tackle. So, Mamadou Kanji will play. And he's got good traits. I like bring the ball out of defence. So, yeah, good player. Emre Can can be a good player. Now, his only concern I have with him is his agility is not great. And somebody wants him. Isn't he wanted? Yeah, he is, by Liverpool and City. I mean, he might be worth selling for like 40 million and then reinvesting that into the squad. That's my only, not concern, that's my only thought with him. That's the only reason I might not keep him is because of that. It's got nothing to do with him not being good enough. He's clearly a great player, but it's that when we are Borussia Dortmund, I mean, we have, what do we have? 8.55 million to spend, and we're trying to recreate the glory days here. We need something a bit better than Emre Can, or at the very least, if we can get 2 players of equal quality for the same price, we'll be doing that. So he could be leaving, but that's not because he's not good enough. Hey, Jude. So Jude Bellingham is here. He is the best central midfield player in the world in about 3 years on Foot Manager. So, yeah, I mean, world class. Like, I don't know who he replicates. Maybe Gundogan, like a better Gundogan. So, no danger. He will not be leaving this football club. His release clause is non-existent. It expires in 4 years. Jude Bellingham is a Borussia Dortmund player for, 3 years. However long this recreation lasts, but he's going to be with us. He won't be going anywhere. Top player, and I don't think there's any surprise really with that. Well, this is the closest thing I could find to wide player, and Julian Brandt does not fit the bill. So, I mean, a bits and pieces player, he could play from the side a little bit. Like, he'd be okay in some matches. For that money, I could get a proper winger in that will do some business, like some actual business on the wings, and not just be a body. I just looked at him, I just feel underwhelmed. Like, he can just about be an okay 10, but then his decisions and composure is terrible. He's not really quick enough to be a wide player. I mean, he is literally gross quotes, isn't he? He may as well be a fullback as well. Can we fullback? No, he's not tried that yet. Maybe we'll try that with him at some point. But yeah, I mean, wingers-wise, you can see there's nothing really here. And the big spot, I mean, Thorgan Hazard definitely getting sold. The one thing that we're going to see here is we're going to have one of the original legends in the team. Marco Reus will play this season. He will not play like the Marco Reus of 2013, though, so we're going to change his role. He's going to be our Marco Reus, where Marco Reus played as a 10. Now, in the Champions League final, he did play as a 10 off Lewandowski, but he played wide as well quite a lot during these 3 years with Klopp. So we're going to play him purely as a 10, and only for the first season, because after the first season, he's just not going to be physically... His stats will plummet everywhere. All his attributes, dribbling, agility, everything will drop. So because of that, we will use him first season, and then probably second season, we might sell him or keep him as a statue, like Matt Hummels. I don't know. But he's a legend, and he's still very good, and his finishing is incredible. I'm interested. I never used Marco Reus as Foot Manager because, well, for the last few years, he's not really worth the money for the age that he is, and the fact that he's not really that quick, so he's not really a proper wide player. But this is interesting. This tactic will work out well for him, I think. But we'll see. But yeah, Marco Reus is going to definitely be in the team first season. And was there any danger of a doubt at all about who our Lewandowski was going to be? Erling Haaland, the best striker in the world today, in Foot Manager, probably in real life as well. Brilliant player. He's going absolutely nowhere. I will offer him a contract immediately. Will he accept it? No. Right, well, he's got 3 years left with no release clause, has he? So, I don't really care what he wants. He's going to stay for the 3 years. Our recreation may only take the 3 years. But, I don't know, like... I don't like putting... I've said this before. I don't like putting, like, time limits on saves, ever, because... You just never know, right? You might get to the end of the 3 years, might say, you know, the series is going so well, everybody's loving it, let's just carry on. So, but, you know, the recreation side of it is only planning to last for 3. If I had to sell him because he was just not playing that well either and he wasn't performing like this sort of Erling Haaland, Alexander Isak is the closest thing I think I could find, apart from Lewandowski actually himself, but he's a bit slower these days. He's not that much slower though. But that's an option. That's pretty much then the squad that we're looking at. I just wanted to show like the real life, well not real life, but the modern equivalents of the players from back then. Even though we've got some of the squad still here, they're not the same in name only. You know, they're not the former selves. And yes, I will be selling 1 or 2 good players in the squad purely to recreate funds to spend elsewhere because we have 8.55 million to spend, 54 grand in wages, and 50 million pounds in the balance, so not great. That is really high. Who have we bought? Forgot about that. So at the end of the first season, we get Sule, who's a pretty decent centre-back, to be honest. 6'5" as well. That's good. That's really good. So finally, one comes back in the other direction. So we're going to take Nicolas Sule off of Bayern next season. And that is a world-class signing. Not as much as agility, but he's 6'5". So, and he's got another year to improve. Hopefully he plays for them and enjoys his second place medal this season. But that's interesting. And yet, this season, like we've made money this season. We've still got such a big transfer debt. I don't know why. Well, that's all the goalkeeper. 3 Swiss goalkeepers, by the way. They must absolutely hate each other playing at club and international. He's better. Kerbal is better than Berkey, in my opinion. By the way, Rafael Guerreiro, yep, for years I've just disliked him he's a brilliant player. Do you know what? He could play central midfield. He's like a deep line playmaker at left back. Look at this. 16 passing, 16 vision, off the ball 17, flair 16. That is unreal. I'm just looking at the team here. Who does he resemble? None of them. There isn't a single player in that team he resembles. I might cash in on him for that reason, because he's too dynamic with his traits to be a deep line playmaker. He could be like the Gundogan, I suppose. He is phenomenal, actually. I was thinking of selling him. Now I'm not so sure. Now I'm thinking I might just sell him because it just solves me a problem, because I've got to figure out where does he best fit, and if I just sell him, I can buy some prototype players instead. I've always disliked him on Foot Manager. He's normally quite slow. Like, he's always been quite slow on Foot Manager. He's quicker this year. I remember when he first joined, he was unbelievably slow. In terms of the staff, like, just say goodbye to some of these. We're going to get our own play. How many fitness coaches are there here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, like, I do sign a lot of fitness coaches for top teams, but I've never seen a team start with that many fitness coaches at the start of the game. That's ridiculous. Brilliant, but ridiculous. Sebastian Kelly's still playing. No, he's 41. No, he's not still playing. He was also part of the team. Yeah, that's going to be the same. We're going to play as Borussia Dortmund. We're going to recreate their success over the 3 years, but the only difference being we want to win the Champions League where they didn't. And yeah, that's going to be the target. Hopefully you're interested in this as a recreation, as a series and a save. Like I said before, please do leave your suggestions. I will definitely be looking at them. I've got them all written down on a list of ones that people mentioned. As this one starts to come to an end, I'll have a look through it again and decide which one's the best way to go. I just felt this was good because it gave us a big, target and rival to try and beat, but it's a doable one and something that could be quite fun to get right, to just see a team that's just so excellent in transition and pressing out of possession. And it's a complete opposite, I think, to the Pep tactic in a way, because it's more about can we get out of possession and transition right first, and then it's can we recreate in possession. Whereas with Pep, it was like all focus on in possession completely. Mainly because some of the pressing traps that he sets, you can't set manually like you do in real life. That was the problem with Pep. But this recreation should be absolutely fine. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I think next episode, what we'll do is we'll come back and see what we've done in the transfer window and see what coaches and stuff we've got. And our first game of the season is going to be... We'll skip that, I think. Okay, so when we come back, what we'll do is we'll do all the transfers that we've done and play Frankfurt. And then the next episode after that will be a one-game episode maybe against Bayern, Super Cup, maybe do Freiburg as well. And it gets us straight off the bat then with 3 episodes quite close together. And then off we go. I'm incredibly excited about this. I can't wait to go up to against Bayern Munich, just to have that sort of energy and passion coming from the underdog club, the team that shouldn't be winning, going up against a team that can just buy everybody from you, and to go toe-to-toe and absolutely stick it to them, and have our Erling Haaland running through and scoring, who will not be going to Bayern, Jude Bellingham going through and scoring, who will not be going to Bayern. None of these players are going to Bayern, except for Marwin Hitz, he can go to Bayern. Apart from that, though, everybody else is going to be staying with us, that we want to stay with us, and we will going toe-to-toe with them and trying to recreate the best high-pressing 4-2-3-1 team that we can, and yeah, see where it leads us. It's going to be a bit of tweaking. I think this will be a bit quicker in terms of the tactic, like it will get close to begin with. When I was doing the roles, and I was like, well, this person's sort of this person's sort of that. When I sort of put the puzzle together, I ended up with almost my own tactic that I released, so it's quite funny how close it was. We'll probably start off with something similar as a base and build off of that, and tweak where we think that we need to. And I think what I'll do this time as well is I will try and hold back some of the episodes early on. For those of you that remember that team and have some thoughts about what certain players should be, feel free to put in the comments. And I'll 100% be looking at tweaking it and trying to put in your thoughts into the tactic as well. Whereas at the start of the Pep one, I got a few episodes ahead and constantly was just tweaking like mad the whole time. So do feel free to put your suggestions in below about any of the roles and stuff. And yeah, I think next episode we'll go through the transfers, we'll go through the tactic, and we'll play our first game of the season. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching, and welcome to the series. Welcome to, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel, in fact. And we're going to be playing against Bayern Munich. We're going to be taking it to them. We're going to beat them to the title at least 2 years, hopefully 3 years in a row. And we're going to beat them to the Champions League. My biggest personal aim is that as long as we aren't winning it, they aren't either. That's the big thing for me, making sure that Bayern don't win anything. And hopefully at the end of this, we can be the biggest team in Germany, then Europe. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.